So about 4 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, there's an individual named Justin C. Smith on Twitter. He appeared to be a real person. The account was created quite some time ago. It wasn't anything recent. That appeared to be his actual name. And there was somebody, if you searched around, fitting his credits and what his age profile would have been. So it certainly appeared as though that he was a real person and that was his real account. He published a tweet stream of about 14 tweets, all linked together, that made some very specific firsthand accusations against Bryan Singer in the period of 1999-2000. And they were accusations of, let's call it, impropriety. He didn't see anything. He experienced impropriety firsthand. And, he talked about the party scene and the age of the kids and the open drugs and alcohol. He makes the accusations. So by about 8 o'clock, Yahoo Entertainment picks that up because it starts going viral on Twitter. Then by about 11, Drudge links to the Yahoo Entertainment article. So now it's really getting out there. Sometime between 3 and 4 a.m., literally in the middle of the night on Thursday, early morning, less than 12 hours since this has come out, all of a sudden his Twitter account is gone. The Yahoo Entertainment is gone. And people wonder why, wonder how that happened. And you can tell about the time that it was because you can see that people's retweets.
And we saw this with Rose McGowan and countless other people, Twitter, Facebook, you name it, when they are prominent stars with evidence, with other witnesses, and they make it in mainstream news, they get deleted. I mean, this shows incredible power. Gabe Hoffman was in studio with us just about a week and a half ago. He's now, I guess, back at his place in Florida. He's a former very successful hedge fund manager, philanthropist, and owner of Espinona Productions. And then it goes on from there, Facebook.com, An Open Secret documentary, An Open Secret on Twitter. They've been trying to censor their accounts, been trying to block them. But now it comes out, oh, Kevin Spacey. When he was just here a week and a half ago, I said, the word is, during a break, I said Kevin Spacey really pushes himself on young men and reportedly boys. And days after he was here, it broke. I mean, that was one of the names that we'd always heard about. And I wasn't even very big in Hollywood. I had a few connections. People made jokes about Kevin Spacey. They even had Family Guy shows where the baby escapes from a basement and says, "Help me, I've been captured in Kevin Spacey's basement torturing children." Like, we should probably pull that up. We wrote a story about it last week. It's like a 10-second clip. Just like they had jokes about Harvey Weinstein raping women. Now we learned 16, 17 years old. But Roman Polanski rapes a kidnapped 13-year-old anally, little girl, little young lady, a child. And, oh, Meryl Streep's still standing ovation. He doesn't deserve to be in trouble. These are sickos. So people ask why they do this. It's to degrade everybody. That's their religion. And he sent along Peter Scully, may still be masterminding porn network, which he calls art. So it's okay as long as it's art. The Peter Scully, the whole story of the little girls tortured and raped on video. This is all just part of a larger network of what's going on. And this is what's diseased Hollywood. So talk about vindication. Corey Feldman coming out literally 2 days after we had our guest in studio. I mean, I know he picked the perfect time to go public with the film and release it for free to everybody after years of him trying to suppress An Open Secret. But wow, the dam is just exploding right now. And now the snuff films are coming out. The devil worship is coming out. As I told you, harassing women is not good, but it's the diversion for raping women. Raping women is the diversion for the much larger raping men. They want power. It's about raping men. That's 80% of it. Then it's about raping boys as you go down the rabbit hole, down the demon hole. Then it's about raping babies, younger children, babies, toddlers. Then it's about torturing them. Then it's about killing them. And now, Soros' hedge fund manager caught with a dungeon in a building. He said, "Don't worry to the women. I raped my daughter here," reportedly, allegedly. I mean, this is all, the dam is breaking in spectacular fashion. And just since one person came forward saying Spacey, when I was 14, drugged me in the room and jumped on top of me and tried to take my clothes off, now they're going, oh, yeah, he does it to young boys, men, just right in front of people on the set, just sticks his hand in their pants, starts grabbing because he's a Hollywood god. It's all about power. It's all about sliming around. So, wow, what an amazing time. Gabe Hoffman of An Open Secret film. Man, this is amazing. What's the next shoe to drop?
So great to be here with you on Infowars, Alex. Since we were on 2 weeks ago with you, we've gone from over 1 million views to over 3 million views, thanks to you, the American public, and all the Infowars listeners. And
your film's one place, that's Vimeo, but it's free. Now you were going to run until Halloween. Is it gone now?
No, we extended it through November 5th. I mean, we just had to. Wanted to celebrate the bravery of these survivors who came down and took down two major Hollywood moguls just in a week. It's not only Kevin Spacey, but of course Brett Ratner, who was one of the biggest producer business people in Hollywood. And you saw that LA Times article break, and then you saw.
And I don't want to just give you credit and interrupt, but this is critical. You said, be brave, go public. Even if you can't go public, contact us. I mean, do you have any feedback that it's the film that's the catalyst to finally blow this wide open? Because it's happening.
Well, nobody's come up to me and said, hey, I've decided to come public because I watched the film. I don't think that's something that they would do. But we're definitely a small part of this avalanche that's starting when you see these other survivors of one of these Hollywood moguls, and they're watching one of their fellow survivors out them and come public. They're inspired and they feel a duty to do it too. I mean, gosh, Brett Ratner was accused of rape, essentially. It's forced oral sex by Natasha Henstridge. And then, of course, somebody else comes out and accuses him on Facebook, and then you see the Hollywood lawyer Marty Singer coming after her and for millions of dollars. So the Hollywood machine is still fighting back, and that's why we need to keep doing this.
But they are getting their butts kicked. I mean, behind the scenes, I've never been threatened like this before, and it's specifically on these issues. It's like, stop it now. Stop it now. I'm not going to stop anything.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I mean, and you touched on this a bit, but at first I was feeling bad for Kevin Spacey's career, sort of thinking, wait a minute, his agent already fired him. The show already got canceled. He's got several more accusers coming out just in a couple days. Even his PR people dropped him. But then I realized, wait a minute, he'll still have several convicted Hollywood pedophile directors to work with, who I'm sure will be happy to hire him. I mean, he could be like Roman Polanski's next leading man.
I was about to say he'll probably get even promoted more into the inner circle now. And again, it gets back to his dad, who was reportedly a Nazi, basic devil worshiper, psycho, even dressed like Hitler, had a beautiful family, wife and children, reportedly had sex basically with all of them. His brother's coming out and exposing. And that Kevin kind of took after daddy. That's why he plays such a good psychopath, because reportedly when you're around him, the guy he plays in Horrible Bosses, that's him.
Yeah, and you guys at Infowars did a wonderful job. I mean, it was sort of God's blessing, a little humor that it was on Halloween that a lot of this came out. And boy, your imitation of a demon Kevin Spacey, I mean, it's one of the highest views on your YouTube channel there, Alex Jones. And boy, it deserves to go viral. I hope it does. It's hilarious.
We fire and forget. I don't even know it went viral. What's the name of the video?
It's your, Kevin Spacey's father was a, devil worshiping, Nazi or whatever. I think it has something like 80,000 views already. And
well, people always think I'm making this up. I grew up in one of the richest county in Texas at the time, and everybody was really nice until you went to a billionaire's house. And then it was like, we're devil worshiping Nazis. And it kept happening. I thought these really hot girls that are seniors driving brand new Jaguars and Mercedes really like me because I'm 13. No, they were trying to recruit me, and it was like, whoa. So I kind of learned about it there.
Right. And I mean, we could talk about, some of what's going on with Bryan Singer right now, which is breaking. There's been a lot of interesting stuff. We could also talk about Dan Schneider and, why people are speculating, kind of lay out the facts. And
exactly. And while we're kind of celebrating it's coming out, let's remember the abuse is still ongoing, and they're trying to sell pedophilia. NAMBLA's out in the open at the UN. I mean, we've got to think about the victims here.
Oh, absolutely. And, somebody can just, Google Dan Schneider feet, and, they're going to see a lot of things that probably shouldn't be on children's television, or I'm sure they didn't know that their kids would watch on Nickelodeon, when you've got, kids getting ketchup and mustard poured on their feet and, feet massaged and all kinds of creepy looking things. It doesn't prove anything, but there's a lot out there that you don't know about your entertainment that's still going on, and you need to get informed.
Well, it's an attempt, obviously, to snake people into things. Nickelodeon has admitted, I remember like 6-7 years ago, they said, we're going to sexualize children, and Viacom had a plan to lower the tweenie preteen all the way down to like 5-year-olds and start the sexualization there.
Yeah, I mean, and Harvey Weinstein says on Hollywood Values that he only had to go to 1 week of rehab and then he's cured. I guess that briefcase full of pills that you had, says otherwise, but that's part of Hollywood hypocrisy. You saw that in Kevin Spacey's statement, where he basically says, hey, I was drunk. It was a long time ago. I don't remember. But if I did do the thing you're accusing me of, well, I'm sorry. And by the way, there's going to be more stories coming out. And, oh, I'm gay. And of course, some of the mainstream media actually bought that hook, line, and sinker. And they led with the tagline, Kevin Spacey is gay, and not Kevin Spacey tried to rape a 14-year-old. Luckily, you guys and Cernovich and, you called out the mainstream media, and, appropriately so. So they still got their defenders out there. And we're probably only in the bottom of the second, maybe top of the third inning in terms of all this.
I was about to say, the media is trying to keep it just groping people away from the underage, away from the raping. But just like with Weinstein and all the rest of it, it is not going to work, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with us as we go down the rabbit hole. We got to go down it. But look, it's all coming out. Just like we say that they stole the election from Sanders, all confirmed, we broke it. We told you Trump was going to break the JFK files. He did as we are the cutting edge. I'm sorry, it's why we're under attack. We're number one. The only reason Infowars is the absolute tip of the spear is because of you, the audience, and the other talk show hosts and other major news operations that do care about the truth, who've helped magnify our many breaking hardcore stories and the great guests we have on, like Gabe Hoffman. When his film suppressed for 4 years, and they've been adding to it the whole time, which is, I think, how God works mysterious ways. I think now is the perfect timing. Instead of 4 years ago, there's suppression, their blocking of it, despite the fact that it did so well in film festivals that they tried to keep it out of. Only, I think, helped it in the end. But Matt Drudge linking to it, what was it, last year and this year, and just everything together, you spreading the word, has now been a catalyst to expose this open secret of the mindset of these people, not just the horrible things they've done to children. But then you understand why none of it makes sense, why they want to corrupt everybody, why they're so evil, why they hate Christians, why they hate conservatives, why they want culture war, because they're turned over to evil. Gabe, you also sent me information about all the mainstream news articles out of Australia, out of the Philippines, out of the UK, where they're catching networks, killing kids, torturing to death. And it hits the news here and there, the massive arrests we see going on here. What else is important for folks to know about what's happening and what's going on?
Sure. Well, there's David Timothy Deacon, who is an American, and he went over there and became a kingpin, similarly with all the terrible snuff films and rape, torture, killing, you name it, of young children. And it's amazing. It's a huge news story over there in Australia and in the Philippines, really all across the Far East. Both Peter Scully and David Timothy Deacon, they're just the tip of that iceberg. And yet you don't see any mainstream or even local news coverage of David Timothy Deacon, an American who went over there and became a kingpin. You see it on Infowars, of course, and that's why you're here. The Bryan Singer stuff is really interesting that's gone on the last 24, 48 hours, and I'd be happy to walk your listeners through what the facts are and what's been happening, and then they can make up their own minds.
Absolutely. Let's walk through it.
Okay. So about 4 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, there's an individual named Justin C. Smith on Twitter. He appeared to be a real person. The account was created quite some time ago. It wasn't anything recent. That appeared to be his actual name. And there was somebody, if you searched around, fitting his credits and what his age profile would have been. So it certainly appeared as though that he was a real person and that was his real account. He published a tweet stream of about 14 tweets, all linked together, that made some very specific firsthand accusations against Bryan Singer in the period of 1999-2000. And they were accusations of, let's call it, impropriety. He didn't see anything. He experienced impropriety firsthand. And, he talked about the party scene and the age of the kids and the open drugs and alcohol. He makes the accusations. So by about 8 o'clock, Yahoo Entertainment picks that up because it starts going viral on Twitter. Then by about 11, Drudge links to the Yahoo Entertainment article. So now it's really getting out there. Sometime between 3 and 4 a.m., literally in the middle of the night on Thursday, early morning, less than, 12 hours since this has come out, all of a sudden his Twitter account is gone. The Yahoo Entertainment is gone. And people wonder why, wonder how that happened. And you can tell about the time that it was because you can see that people's retweets.
And we saw this with Rose McGowan and countless other people, Twitter, Facebook, you name it, when they are prominent stars with evidence, with other witnesses, and they make it in mainstream news, they get deleted. I mean, this shows incredible power.
Absolutely. And you see that when you talk about it got in a random place called the Forward. It's, they don't cover Hollywood. It's a Jewish place. And within 3 hours, that was taken down as well. of course, it was the sort of Streisand effect where if you try to suppress something, just like our film, it only gets out there wider and wider. So it got archived all over the place. It's up on our Twitter feed, my Twitter feed at Gabe Hoff. People can look at those allegations, look at what is going on, and, make their own determination and see what happens. But that's just one interesting news item. It's funny. Bryan Singer has the same powerful Hollywood attorney, Martin Singer, who was the attorney for Bill Cosby, is the attorney for folks like John Travolta, Charlie Sheen, Casey Affleck, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Brett Ratner. I'm sure you're seeing a theme here. And I guess he's been busier than a one-eyed cat watching 9 rat holes these days. Or
a one-eyed man in a you-know-what kicking contest. Or a one-legged man. Man, I tell you, so where does this go from here?
Well, what was also interesting is there's somebody named Jordan Gavaris. He's one of the folks that we outlined 2 weeks ago when we were on your show, who had made accusations against Tyler Gresham. By the way, Tyler Gresham, we think, is the Harvey Weinstein of young boys, a very aggressive sexual predator. I think the accusations now are up to 7. The LAPD is investigating him, so on and so forth. So Jordan Gavaris yesterday afternoon, he found an archived version of the Justin C. Smith allegations, and he put them up. Now, Tyler Gresham and Bryan Singer are known to run in the same circles, and so that's all just very interesting, and it's all stuff that's on our feed, and people should look at and make their own judgments as to what's to come.
Let me ask you this about Corey Feldman. Some of his folks, and he contacted us about 5 years ago and again about 2 years ago, but we talked to him, and he never came on. Now he's been going on some shows, I think, doing a really amazing job. But overall, what do you think of his story and that whole phenomenon?
Well, a couple of points. One is, if you actually read his book, he uses pseudonyms. And if you do a little sleuthing, because he does describe those people in detail, he basically names them in his book. You just have to do the work. That's number one. He did out somebody on Dr. Oz yesterday who's not anybody, rich and powerful. The other folks he accuses in his book, if you sort of do the sleuthing and you figure out who they are pretty rich and powerful. I'm not going to name them because it's an accusation, but all that stuff is out there for people to see.
Sure. What do you make of Michael Jackson? Because I used to go after him until I did more research, and it appeared that he had, it's admitted, had been abused as a child, physically and sexually, and so was frozen at that level and wanted children around because he had a childlike mind. And Feldman and others say, yeah, like he'd have sleepovers and watch TV and have kids in his bed like he was 8 years old, but that he wasn't a pedophile. What's your research show?
Well, if you dig deep in the Michael Jackson case, one of the things that you learn is that there was a bunch of evidence, like there are in just about every big criminal case, that the jury wasn't allowed to see for, whatever reason. The judge made their determination. And amongst that was some child porn that was found in a search of Michael Jackson's home, artistic sort of child porn, meaning that it was drawings, but they were still drawings of, children engaged in, sexual type activity.
I was about to say, but it came out that he himself was sexually abused, so he may have been, drawing that out. I'm not defending Michael Jackson. I just attacked him so much over the years. Then when I did more research, it looked like there was more to the story there, that he himself was a big victim. But we know the victims tend to victimize sometimes as well.
Right, and it's clear from the Corey Feldman case that when he went to the Santa Barbara police, look, they were after Michael Jackson. He was a high-profile case. What we also know is that it's completely plausible and even probable that Michael Jackson didn't molest Corey Feldman, because what these predators do, as we show in our film An Open Secret, and what you're seeing all over the place with these Hollywood revelations, is these sexual predators are sort of like a wolf surrounded by sheep, and they just pick 1 or 2 or 3 of the sheep that they feel they can, co-opt or they're attracted to for their own reasons.
So he'd used Feldman just to make it look like everything was okay.
Yeah, so it's totally plausible that he was fine with Feldman.
Powerful. Gabe Hoffman, Open Secret, come back on very soon for a full hour. We salute your work for all these innocents. Attention, devil worshippers. Attention, meth heads. Attention, Antifa scum. We're fully aware of the globalist funding or operation to push for a violent revolution in America. That's why Infowars will be covering your so-called operations this Saturday live from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. with exclusive streams at newswars.com, infowars.com, and prisonplanet.com. We'll have our intrepid team of reporters, analysts, and researchers here at the ATX Command Center in Austin. But we'll also have reporters on the ground in major cities. We will be there to chronicle these degenerate abominations as they attempt to launch their filthy Bolshevik Revolution Part 2, which will be a dead birth on arrival. So whatever you do, my fellow modern Paul Reveres of every race, color, and creed, spread the word to Infowars.com, Newswars.com, and our live coverage coming up this Saturday.